All right, so this video is going to cover the revisions made to the asset editing control panel. And the first half is mostly going to be the new features. And the second half is going to be somewhat of a reiteration of the first video, basically, explaining how to set it up and its core functionality. So to start off, essentially the material replacement function was limited to assets in the content browser, and the static mesh actor, mesh replacement was, and still is limited to actors in the level. But now there's a new option here to replace materials on actors in a level rather than the assets themselves in the content browser. And the reason for this is, basically I realized that, that whole process of replacing materials on assets is helpful, if you want it to be a one and done sort of deal, right? But it is very slow. Really, when you're mostly dealing with anything like over a few hundred assets, it can take a little while. And so, for this, just the first floor of this house, there's just over 1,000 assets. So that takes about 45 seconds in the content browser. However, performing this action on the static mesh actors in the level is actually quite fast. And I'm going to give you a demonstration on how to do that now. So let's go over to our asset editing control panel here. And we're going to drop this open, and we're going to select replace actor materials. And the next step would be to select some actors. So to do that, I'm going to bring the the outliner over here and show that we have quite a few static mesh actors in this project right now. And there it says here that we've got 900 actors. Okay, so let's select some of these, and you can select scene objects too. It doesn't have to be static mesh actors. The control panel will filter out anything that's not relevant to the actions that we're about to perform here. So you can see now that we have, out of 900 actors, we have 895 selected. So let's just go ahead and ping these guys and see what materials they have on them. And we can see from our list here that that we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 materials, 8 unique materials across all 856 actors. So now we actually can check out one of the new features of the control panel, which is if you drop open one of these carrots, you have a new button here that says Show Objects, which we'll go ahead and click on now. So now what we see here is a list of every object that has this M_wood cabinet material on it. And if we scroll down here, we can see that there's a lot. So this can be handy, if you see a material in here that you didn't quite expect to see. I thought it might be helpful to be able and see, what objects share this material. And that might, that just might be good for, troubleshooting there. So now what we can do is go ahead and do as we've always been able to do, which is replace from material table. And I'm going to select the data table here that I want it to look in for the material replacements. And in the second half of the video, again, I'll kind of reiterate how all this works. But again, for right now, this is just about the new functionality. Okay, so now that we've got all of our actors selected, we've determined that we're going to replace from a material table. We've selected the data table that we're going to replace from. So let's go ahead and run this action and we'll see how quick this is. And there you go. So performing this action on the assets themselves in the content browser, for this many assets, I've clocked it at about 40 seconds. All right, so you also, just as before, we get a list of objects with the new materials on them, and if we just go ahead and hit refresh here, it'll take us back to pinging actors again. Okay, so let me go ahead and reload, or actually remove and reload this level. Okay, so that we have a fresh start here. Okay, so let's kind of go over some of the features of the control panel that got outlined previously, but I've made some tweaks too. In using this tool myself on my own project here, I kind of realized that there were a few things with respect to the UI that I wanted to correct. So let's go ahead and select these actors again. And remember, this process here works identically on the actual assets themselves in your content browser. Now, one thing that I fixed was, let's say that you want to replace from material table, and you've got your main table there selected, and it obviously it fills all this in for you, okay? But let's say that you want to have this countertop material here. Instead of using the material from the table, we want to replace with a material sample. Okay, but we have no samples in here yet. So let's go over and find a material that we want to put on the countertop that doesn't come from the table. So I'm going to go to my materials folder here, and just for fun, I'm going to do Chrome, and I'm going to come back up here to sample material. Now watch. So I've got metal chrome selected here, and I'm going to hit sample material. Okay. Now we come down to where we want to select our sample for this particular material replacement, and we can see that metal chrome is now in the list. Okay, and then we also have another option as well. Let's say that we come over here and we look at this glass material here. And for some reason we decide that we don't want anything to happen to this glass material. I can come over here and say ignore. All right. And now let's go ahead and run this. Hit execute. All right. So we can see that our glass material has not changed. We can see that there's a new material name in the list here, which is metal chrome. All right. And if we come over to our kitchen here, we can see that we've got that chrome material now on the countertop. Now, this was a feature that that has existed in the previous version. But one thing that I noticed is that when I went to go, say, do another action or ping the actors again and go about my business, and I wanted to say apply a material sample to the same material sample to another object in the project, during the same workflow, that I was, that the material sample was getting cleared, the list of samples was being cleared out. So I've corrected that little, UI bug there. The other thing that I fixed was, well, it's not necessarily a fix or a bug, but I sort of changed how the data table and asset searching functionality works behind the scenes. So the way that the that the control panel was verifying that it found the correct asset replacement, whether it's a static mesh asset or a material asset. The way that it verified that it was the correct one was through the asset name, okay, rather than the row name. Now, the row name was always being searched, which is why you have the option of removing the prefix from your table row searching. However, there was a reason why I did this in the blueprint, but I actually found out, I found a way around that problem. So I no longer needed to look at the asset name, in addition to the row search. It looks purely at the row now. This was something that I decided I needed to change when I started working with this tool, myself more, because I discovered that, oh, hey, it found, I knew that say concrete floor was in here, but for some reason it wouldn't apply it. Well, that was because that, my material instance, the actual name of that asset had underscore INST after it, and I was quite annoyed at that. So I figured that other people might get annoyed at that as well. So I sort of changed that behavior. So that, I think, pretty much covers the major additions and minor changes. Now I'm just going to kind of run through, how this works in principle again. So basically, where it starts is you need a data table, okay? And let's say that that you have, well, actually, let's go open up the test level or the demo level that comes with this tool. So I'm just going to go over to my content browser here, and I'm going to go to the AE control panel folder that you'll get with the tool. And I'm going to go to Demo, Levels, Main Level, Demo, Walkway. And let's go ahead and open this. Once we get this level open here, we'll see that there are a few assets in here that are just repeatedly used. Okay, all these walkways are the same. But they've just been, chained together in a hierarchy here. You might be blocking out a world, and it doesn't matter if things are in a hierarchy or whatever. You've got these, temporary, spatial blocks or low poly versions of something that you're going to replace later. Okay. So now let's say that you've laid out a whole level and you've got all these pieces set up, and now you get your high poly meshes from another artist or something. They've been working on it while you've been blocking things out or whatever. Well, what's the quickest way, most efficient way of replacing these? And let's say you're not using a blueprint that's instanced around. One thing that you could do is you could have a data table somewhere. And let's go take a look at a data table, because this tool works with any data table structure. All right. So this particular data table here, the row name is the name of the static mesh without the SM underscore in front of it. All right. Now, if we look at our outliner here, let's just take the platform, for example. Let's look at this SM underscore TSB walkway platform 000. Okay. The static mesh that is in here is that name, right? Now these actors can be any name, right? If we rename this, we'll just say walkway. All right, so we have an actor named walkway, but here's the static mesh that it's using. So what you would do is you would make a row name that is that static mesh name. So we can see if I put these two right next to each other, TSB-walkway-platform. Right here in the details panel, we can see TSB-walkway-platform. Now you could have the SM underscore in here. You could even get rid of this TSB if you'd like. And I'll probably do that for the demo here in just a moment, but this is what I have loaded in here for now. Okay. So where that name is, when you look up that name, it's going to go and it's actually going to find a different mesh. It's going to find our high poly platform mesh. If we take a look at this one here, we can see it is indeed a high poly mesh. So it's definitely, it's different. I don't know why I went into top mode there. What I was trying to do is get back to lit. All right, so now this mesh here, completely different mesh, and it's got a couple of material IDs on it. So we've determined what mesh we're going to use. We've got a data table row in here with the mesh name, and it's pointing to that mesh. All right, so once you have that data table set up, and by the way, this structure, you could have materials in here, booleans, any kind, whatever you want. Okay. What's important is to note the column name for where your replacement asset is going to be. Okay, and in this case, this data table structure, it's called static mesh replacement. Okay, now the asset editing control panel comes with its own special data table. And this data table is required for it to function. And it's basically a master storage table, data table that stores any data table that you might be using. All right, so here's the one for the house that I just showed you a few minutes ago. This is a material table for those specific materials in that house. Now, these two tables here are the tables that come with the demo for the asset editing control panel. So basically what you'll do is you'll add a data table row here, and you can call this row whatever you want. You could say it's my project materials. And my project materials, I'm just going to use the same data table here. You're going to go to wherever your table is, okay, have it ready there. And then you can put it in the replacement table slot, okay. There's a space here for a description. As something about this table. And then the important part here, there's two important parts. You're going to want to call this whatever that column is. In this case, it's static mesh replacement. And actually, I just realized I'm dealing with the wrong table here. We want the static mesh table. And then we're going to say static mesh replacement. Okay. And then here, depending on if you're dealing with materials or static meshes, you want to tell the table what it is. Or the asset editing control panel needs to know from the table what sort of table we're looking for. If that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to clear these other ones out for the moment, so that we're dealing with just that one table, right? And I'm going to save this, and then we're going to close that, and let's see, move this details off to the side over here. So what we'll want to do is we'll then select all of the actors that we want to run this on. And then we come over to the action type. We're going to replace actor meshes. And first we need to know what's on them. So let's go ahead and ping the actors. All right. So yep. So we've got a bunch of stuff in here. Okay. So these are all the static meshes that it found on the actors, not the actor names themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say replace from mesh table. And we're going to say my project materials. It's actually named incorrectly. It's a static mesh table. Actually, let's go ahead and show you how to change that. So let's say that you goofed up like I just did, and you want to change this name, my project static meshes. Okay. You can actually refresh this list here by going back up to the action type and saying select action type, and then go back to the action that you wanted to perform. And when we open this list here, we can see that the name of the data table has been updated. All right, so now remember when I said that you can remove the prefix, and currently it's going to look to remove SM underscore, so that when it's looking through this data table, when it's looking through these rows, it's just going to omit that from the search. So so let's go ahead and run this. Move some of this stuff out of the way. I'm going to change this to wireframe so that we can actually see it happen. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit execute here. And there you go. So let's take that a step further. Let's get our data table back here. Now, let's just go ahead and remove this other prefix here, platform. So we're going to remove it from the grading, the platform, and the rail. All right. Let's see here. If we go and let's remove the walkway level. And let's bring that level back in, so it kind of resets things there. All right. So now what I'm going to tell this thing to do is look for a new prefix that we're going to remove from the search. All right. And we're actually going to say TSB dash. All right. So now when it goes through the rows in the data table, it's gonna omit this from the search of this. It's going to look for walkway dash rotator dash inner. And then, oh, I also forgot to mention this here, the bad string, that's anything on the end. Okay, so you've got your prefix that you're removing from the search, and you're also removing the underscore 012. Okay, because any of those underscore duplicate designations are irrelevant to the fact that we're looking for walkway dash rail. Okay, so go ahead and move that off there. So now I changed only 4 of these rows. All right, so when we run this now, see, it didn't change all of them, right? It only changed some. It only changed the ones that it found in the data table based on the search criteria. Okay, so we can actually refresh this. We can go back to selecting all of these actors again. All right, and we're going to ping them again. Now we get sort of a mixed list here, right? We've got our high poly meshes. We can see which objects have those meshes applied, and we can see the stuff that didn't get done, right? So now we can run this again, and this time though, I'm going to sample some alternate meshes here to be used as replacements. So in the demo folder under high poly meshes, there's example 1 and example 2, but then there's also an alternate folder here that has alternate meshes. So I'm actually going to select all of these, and I'm going to say sample mesh. All right. Now, so the ones that we have sampled are railing parts. Okay, so we actually have SM rail got replaced, but none of the rail posts. So if I drop open the rail post, I'm going to say instead I want to replace with mesh sample. So this is walkway. So let's just look at the core name here, walkway rail post. Now in our sample, we have a SM rail alt, rail post alt. So there we go. Now we also need post left. So we have some alternate meshes for those. So here's our rail post left alt. And a right post, we're going to also say with sample here. So there we go. Now the rail itself was already covered by the table replacement for the function that we just ran a moment ago. And now I'm going to leave the default SM underscore search criteria there because in our table, that's all we need to omit, aside from the bad string that's on the end, right? So now if we go ahead and run this again, all right, so now every mesh here has been swapped with a high poly version. And here's our alternate post design. These guys here that kind of have that chamfered top, those are the alternate railing posts. And you can see there's a left, a right, and a center. And yeah, so that in a nutshell is the static mesh replacement. And I'll just give a quick, quick demonstration on the material replacement for this, for these demo assets that come with the tool. All right, so let's go up to replace actor materials. Okay, and let's go ahead and select all of these. Oh, you know what? We actually need to add it to our master data table because I forgot. We actually cleared out all the other tables. All right, so so let's just go ahead and add a row here. And this will be called material swaps. And let's go over to the directory where we have our material table here. Oops. Okay. And we're just going to drop that in here. And we also need to know what the column is, where the replacement asset lives, and it's actually material replacement. Over here, we'll say material replacement. And materials is the default table type. And you can put a description here. Let's see here. Good materials. Okay. So we'll go ahead and save that. And now to refresh our table list, let's just go back to select action type. And go back, replace actor materials. Ping the actors. Now here are all the material names that it found. And we can say replace from material table. Now there's no default prefix in here. But one thing that is pretty common if you work in 3D Studio Max, sometimes you'll get duplicate material names. Like we have this m_gh_m04, but we also have an identically named material, but with double underscores followed by one underscore. And I won't get into why that happens, but it is common, and you might have seen it if you work with 3D Studio Max. So we're pretty much ready to go here. Just to reiterate, the bad string, there's two modes for this. It's remove characters plus following. So what's going to happen here is when it finds the double underscore, which we have here, it's going to remove the double underscore plus anything after it. You can also choose to remove specified only, in which case, when it searches for the material name, it's going to remove double underscore, but it's going to leave the one and the underscore. In which case, the table row search would fail. It would not find that row. So we'll go ahead and just keep it at bad. Remove the bad characters plus anything that follows them. And we're just going to hit execute here. Oop. And I have a handy little warning dialog that comes up if you have not selected a method, or rather a variable for a method of replacement. Your method of replacements are up here, the option paths, and then you have a variable essentially for each option path. So we're going to select our data table called material swaps, and that's what we're going to use in our replace from material table option. So let's go ahead and execute that. And so now we have, it found all of the materials on those high poly meshes that needed to be replaced, and it replaced them with, selections that I made in the table. So now you may notice here that this walkway platform is still white. However, that's actually, that's not an error. So if we look at this material name here, MGHM06, and if we go to our data table, let's go take a look and see what's in that table. There is no line 6. All right, now I can actually duplicate one of these rows. I can rename it to MGH06, and actually I'm just going to go ahead and drop the M underscore off of there, okay, to sort of mimic what we have going on in our static mesh replacement table. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to refresh the panel. I still have, whoops, actually I don't still have actors selected. Let's go ahead and select all these actors. It's totally fine to select ones that this process has already been executed on. And let's go ahead and just close that. We don't need that anymore. And we ping these actors. What we'll do is go ahead and say replace from table. We're going to select our material swaps table. And because I removed the M underscore from the table row that contains this material's name, I'm going to, in the prefix field here, say M underscore. All right. Now let's go ahead and see what happens when we run this. All right, so it replaced the material with the metal black that I told it to. So there you go. It's pretty straightforward once you figure out what all the prerequisites are. So yeah, I've been using this tool in my own personal projects, and I hope that there's other game devs and architectural visualizers out there like myself who find it useful as well. Um, and if you do, it's available on the Unreal Engine Marketplace as well as the ArtStation Marketplace if you think that this might interest you. I hope that it does, and if you end up using it, please let me know. Give me some feedback on it. I'd love to hear it. At the time of recording this video, the asset editing control panel has been available for 5.3 and 5.4. However, the updates that I've made to it will version it into 5.4 only. So sorry for that if your project is currently in 5.3. However, I've done extensive testing in 5.4 with this, and it works great. Well, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up this video. I hope that you find these updates useful, and I plan to probably add more features to this control panel in the future. I definitely intend on creating more editor utility widgets and different types of blueprints as well. So look out for those.